What's going on, guys? Swint Plays here, and today Swint will be talking about his play through Assassin's Creed Mirage. My playthrough? Whatever, you get it, let's get into this review. Alright guys, I'll give you guys my brief history as it relates to this franchise. I've played every Assassin's Creed game and generally enjoyed them all in some form or fashion, many more than others. With that being said, I do not hate the last 3 RPG Assassin's Creed games like some. I rather enjoyed them, but I do prefer the more linear story-driven titles of the past more. I do feel there is a place for both, and I'm pretty excited for Codename Hex and Codename Red. With all of that being said, this game was touted as a quote-unquote return to its roots from Ubisoft and the franchise, and I'd be lying if I said that didn't sound refreshing given the massive, sometimes seemingly endless games we got for Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. The question then becomes two things. Did they accomplish that? And if so, is that gameplay loop as fun as we remember? I've completed this game and I have the answers to both of these questions and will be giving my rating at the end of this video, so stay tuned and let's get into it. For this review, I'll be looking at what we generally want to see for an Assassin's Creed game, and categorizing those things before giving it my rating out of 10, which will be derived not only from previous games, but also on where I think it can go in the future. So getting started, the first category is going to be what I personally believe should be at the forefront of any AC game, and that's stealth. You can tell that stealth in Assassin's Creed Mirage was a major focus of the team and in my opinion is implemented extremely well. Stealth is the main focus of this game and is quite literally something you will need to use in every aspect of it. It's not that you can't take the loud approach into every encounter as you could in Valhalla, but rather that you are not likely to survive in doing so. We will get more into that in the combat section. But seriously guys, stealth is the most important part of this game and key to the success you'll have in completing it. There's social stealth, and I mean true and actually useful social stealth when compared to the prior released Valhalla. You'll be blending in by sitting on a bench within the city to eavesdrop on a target or target information. Blending in with groups to hide in plain sight and avoid detection, or paying a group to hide you within as you walk through restricted areas and gain access to parts of the city that would otherwise bring about complications. Hiring groups to cause distractions, allowing you to slip past enemy lines, or drawing out your target out of cover in a black box mission. It's all really good and extremely useful and feels leaps and bounds better than what we were given in AC Valhalla. The quote-unquote choice is yours approach elevates the stealth gameplay here to a level we have not seen in a long time for the franchise, and I'm loving it. We are able to pickpocket loot and coin again, and it is far from a gimmick in this game. They have brought over a similar mini-game to Valhalla's Assassinations. It becomes more difficult based on the worth of the contents that you are trying to steal. I like this system as it illustrates the level of guarding these civilians have over the possessions they are carrying on their person. They know if they are carrying that bag, they need to be more mindful and protective over it, in turn making it harder for you to take. And I like that they will notice it's gone, notify the guards of a thief, and the guard will actively investigate the area and become alerted to your presence if you hang around the scene of the crime. If you fail the mini-game, they will notice immediately and begin screaming for guards who will rush over for the same thing. So getting Ghost is your best bet after taking from others. I don't know about you all, but I feel bad taking from the poor. We are all trying to get by, so I focus my takings from the rich in the inner city. Probably just me. Whatever, but with all of that being said, this is the primary way of earning currency in this game, which will be used for tools and in-game outfits. They have also brought back a notoriety system, and this makes it where citizens will see and report your crimes to local guards and cause an increase in the 3-stage notoriety system. Petty theft can increase the meter slightly, which will happen if you attempt a pickpocket and fail. Killing will raise it as well, so no more killing guards in broad daylight for all to see, not unless you want to be hunted by an assassin they will send for you if your notoriety hits stage 3. Heads up, he can be rather challenging, so lower your notoriety when you can and be creative when killing publicly. Use your tools to cover yourself from others' line of sight. To lower notoriety, they have brought back posters, so tear those down to remove a stage. Or pay someone to remove it entirely. Tools and use of the environment is a major added layer to stealth, and both are tailored specifically to that experience. Smoke bombs to cover line of sight, throwing knives to quietly headshot kill from a distance, or to hit red powder bags in the environment that will act as a makeshift smoke bomb. Blow darts to quickly and quietly silence a target to further plan out an attack, or when killing is not an option. It's all very fledged out here. Eagle vision, in my opinion, is the best here than it has ever been, allowing for an absolute toggle for on and off, and the clarity that you are able to see everything with is incredible. The big controversial stealth mechanic added was the assassin's focus. People do not like the supernatural aspect of Basim teleporting around, up to 5 times to insta-kill big groups of enemies. I too can understand that viewpoint, but it did grow on me as I played, and to my understanding it looks this way to illustrate a glitch in the animus, so I'm okay with it. Very useful skill for both killing and positioning. Thinking back to AC Brotherhood, Unity, and Syndicate, and some of the more fan-favored stealth in Assassin's Creed, I don't see this as lesser than those, and in many cases I think it's better being more modernized and tailored to the player's experience as expected in 2023. So for stealth I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I do think we could see improvements in the future, like AI being a bit more keen to prevent repetitive tactics like stacking their bodies in the tall grass because I've whistled 10 times. I also think it's somewhat easy to lose guards on this game when compared to past inner city locations within the AC universe. Assassination animations are smooth and quick, but I'd like to see double assassinations return as well, though I do enjoy the chain assassinations still. But overall stealth is really good in this game, and the freedom to tackle these black box missions in the manner of your choosing is once again refreshing. That was a lot under the stealth umbrella, but like I said, that's the meat and potatoes here, so let's jump into the next category, and that's going to be the combat. Now I've seen some say the combat is bad or that it's an afterthought, and my personal opinion couldn't be further from that. We've already discussed the team's return to roots objective, and as I feel that was done successfully for stealth, I too feel that way about the combat. Anyone who has played the last 3 AC games released knows this is different from that quite a bit. This game feels more punishing for fighting larger groups of enemies, and doing so becomes a lot more difficult than it was on Valhalla, but also more difficult than it used to be on games like AC3. That being said, Mirage's combat feels closer to the older games than it does to newer ones in my opinion. I don't think it was an afterthought, I think it was intentional, and I quite enjoy it. One-button parry kills are back, aka return from the roots, as anyone who has played the older titles know there wasn't much more to combat than that, but here it's built upon. You are able to parry and kill enemies, but it comes with making the right read of attacks between what can be parried and what cannot. Heavy attacks can't be parried here and will require dodging. So making the right read when being attacked leads to success here. To me this combat feels right at home for a return to roots, and even if I'm in the minority, I like it. It's taken steps to make it more difficult than it used to be on older titles like AC3 by making fighting larger groups of enemies more costly. Basim can't take a lot of hits before losing massive amounts of health, and performing a parry or dodge becomes more challenging when many enemies are surrounding Basim and attacking simultaneously. So it captures the feeling that there isn't a man that can be put before you that you can't annihilate with your assassin and brotherhood training, but also the feeling that you are still a man, and can be killed. I think this game strikes that balance really well. There aren't options for weapon types in this game, you only have access to sword and dagger, which I personally like the simplicity after being given what many might consider an overwhelming amount of weapon choices in the past few titles, but I can see that as a downside as well. Regardless, at least for this title alone, where stealth and tools are much more the focus, having access to one weapon type doesn't bother me. Despite there only being sword and dagger, there is a variety of these in the game, all of which have different perks associated with them. Same with outfits. These add another layer to the combat system as well. There is also a decent enemy variety here. This adds to the complexity of battles when you're fighting regular enemies, and weaving in bigger, stronger enemies who can only be attacked from behind while also not able to be parried. It can get challenging, but it's fun to get creative with your tools and movements. Also, I have to mention that the combat animations and finishing moves are fast, clean, and very nice to pull off in the midst of battle. There is a rather big variety of animations, and from start to finish I never got tired of watching the really cool kill animations. Combat in this game is simplified, but when you think about its roots and about what the Creed is training for, stealth and assassinations trump open and loud combat. Sticking to the shadows is the primary objective in this game, and it definitely feels this way. Overall, I like the combat and I do feel they've succeeded in taking it back to its roots, but I also acknowledge its shortcomings in choice and variety as compared to other titles. Combat gets an 8 out of 10. Next up, parkour. With parkour, honestly there isn't much to discuss. No, it's not Unity, but it is far superior to Valhalla. Think somewhere in between those two, but for me, parkour gets a 7 out of 10. What really helps with parkour in Mirage is our next category, which is location. Guys, Baghdad is nothing short of amazing. It's dense, it's lively, the tone and atmosphere is like no other. AC games generally get locations and atmosphere right, so nothing out of the ordinary here. But the city and its surroundings are really a sight to behold, let alone to be thrown into. But Baghdad here also has a purpose behind its layout, which is what I was referencing for parkour. While the parkour system in place here really isn't anything special, it's made to feel a lot better because of Baghdad itself. Its narrow streets, many buildings, ropes, ladders, and multiple paths across it all. It really is a parkour playground, and that's all down to the beautiful design of the city here. It does capture the old school roots feeling here because unlike with the newer games which are beautiful and atmospheric in their own right, this one feels more in line with earlier titles like AC2 and Unity. It has more dense, smaller city maps as compared to large countryside maps seen in the RPG AC games as of late. So I give Baghdad here a 10 out of 10 for location. It's gorgeous and is no doubt the best part about this game. The last category in my review today is going to be story and character, guys, and worry not, no spoilers ahead. Now Basim, in my opinion, is a unique and intriguing character to say the least. We see him in Valhalla where we see how he is, but it doesn't do a good job explaining fully how he gets to that point. Being able to see in detail Basim go from a common street thief to a fully fledged assassin, by joining the Brotherhood and joining their fight is needed. But Mirage doesn't necessarily do a great job at explaining the ending, which I won't spoil here of course, but if you've played it without beating Valhalla, you might be left with more questions than answers, so know that going in. It might be worth watching a summary of Basim in that game prior to completing this one. But overall I think the pacing might be a little slow in Mirage, but the story, while far from the best in the franchise, it's not the worst, and it's interesting to see the growth of such a character as interesting as Basim. Story gets a 7 out of 10. So in conclusion, guys, AC Mirage is a fantastic return to the Assassin's Creed roots with fantastic stealth, really good combat, acceptable parkour, especially given recent entries, a perfect world in 9th century Baghdad, and an acceptable story closing out that chapter of Basim's life. All in all, that brings the overall score for Assassin's Creed Mirage to an 8.2. It's a great game, and if you're into the old school feel and returning to its roots, then I highly recommend this game. How are you liking Mirage if you have purchased it? Anything different you would change for the score? Let me know in the comments down below. With that being said guys, if you want to see more reviews, please give this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel, it means a lot. Until next time gamers, take care.